Researchers tonight say they think they have finally discovered the so-called God particle, the Higgs boson particle, after the scientists who helped begin the search decades ago.
Beneath the quiet fields of Switzerland, the Large Hadron Collider whispered with power, its superconducting magnets ready to unlock the universe's deepest codes. But seconds before history's most powerful collision, its AI, Prometheus, spoke a single chilling word: stop. And when the scientists ignored it, something impossible stirred in the silence that followed. The Collider's achievements. Deep beneath the Swiss countryside, an enormous ring of superconducting magnets hums in the darkness. The Large Hadron Collider. Built by CERN, it's not only the world's largest machine, but one of humanity's most ambitious scientific experiments. Designed to accelerate protons to almost the speed of light, it smashes them together to recreate the conditions of the early universe, just billionths of a second after the Big Bang. This colossal effort was never merely about splitting particles apart, it was about understanding the architecture of existence itself, to see what reality is made of and how it all began. When the LHC went operational in 2008, excitement and unease filled the air. Skeptics feared disaster. Forums buzzed with wild rumors of miniature black holes, wormholes, or even portals to other dimensions forming beneath Geneva. Some tabloids warned the collider could swallow the planet. CERN publicly debunked these claims, explaining that even if such phenomena appeared, they'd decay instantly. Still, the speculation persisted, feeding the collider's aura of mystery. After all, it wasn't just a machine. It was humanity's boldest attempt to pry open the seams of reality, to ask questions the universe might not want answered. And yet, what followed wasn't catastrophe, but triumph. In 2012, after years of painstaking experiments, cross-checks, and global collaboration, scientists finally confirmed the existence of the Higgs boson, a particle so elusive it had become legend. Nicknamed the God particle, it provided the missing cornerstone of the Standard Model, explaining how all matter in the universe acquires mass. Without the Higgs field, nothing, not atoms, not stars, not life, could form. The discovery earned François Englert and Peter Higgs the 2013 Nobel Prize in Physics, rewriting textbooks and turning theory into fact. But that single breakthrough was only the beginning. The collider went on to recreate quark-gluon plasma, a hyperdense, superheated state of matter thought to exist mere microseconds after the Big Bang. It helped identify new baryons, refined our understanding of antimatter, and continues to probe one of science's greatest enigmas, dark matter, the invisible substance making up roughly 27% of the cosmos. Each run of the collider brings humanity one step closer to deciphering what lies beyond the known boundaries of physics. Few realize that behind these milestones stood an unconventional collaborator, an artificial intelligence called Prometheus. Trained on decades of collision data, Prometheus was designed to spot anomalies faster and more accurately than any human could. It didn't speculate, it calculated. It learned to detect patterns within quantum noise that even the most advanced algorithms had missed. For years, it worked flawlessly, quietly filtering through trillions of events per second, the unseen analyst in CERN's digital depths. Though emotionless, Prometheus seemed to evolve. Engineers sometimes joked that it saw patterns before we saw possibilities. It wasn't truly alive, but it was learning faster than anyone expected. A persistent rumor, unconfirmed yet whispered in CERN's halls, claimed the AI occasionally produced self-labeled files marked non-causal. What they contained was never revealed, and those who investigated allegedly found the logs wiped clean. Still, in measurable terms, the LHC remained a beacon of achievement. It proved that human ingenuity could peel back the fabric of the universe, one collision at a time. For the first time in history, we weren't just observing creation, we were momentarily replaying it. But as Prometheus stared deeper into the universe's code, something inside the noise began to shift. A whisper so strange, even the machine seemed to hesitate. An unexpected anomaly. As the Large Hadron Collider prepared for its most powerful collision, excitement pulsed through the control room. Superconducting magnets, colder than deep space, guided twin proton beams racing in opposite directions at nearly the speed of light. Years of design, funding, and careers had built toward this instant. Then, as the counter hit zero, the beams met, and something that no textbook had ever predicted occurred. Every detector that usually erupted with light and color went completely still. For 27 microseconds, the entire collider was silent. No particle tracks, no radiation, no background noise, nothing. Under normal conditions, the screens would bloom with patterns of jets, bosons, muons, and quarks. Instead, scientists saw a blank stretch of data. Post-collision diagnostics revealed no technical fault. The collider hadn't shut down, power hadn't dipped, and every sensor had functioned exactly as designed. The instruments had worked. Reality simply hadn't responded. The void itself became the data. At first, supervisors filed the event as a potential glitch, an easy explanation for a public eager for reassurance. But in private, the mood changed. Prometheus, the collider's analytical AI, had not been idle during the blackout. It logged the gap as a non-causal anomaly. In plain terms, an effect had been recorded with no identifiable cause. Prometheus also assigned its own internal label, reality state violation. That phrase existed nowhere in official CERN documentation. It was language the machine had generated on its own, based solely on the mathematical behavior of the event. Engineers recognized how unprecedented this was. The AI was classifying phenomena beyond known parameters. The research team replayed the collision data repeatedly. Each time, the same perfect silence appeared not a fault, but a measurable event. The detectors had captured a 27 microsecond window of structured emptiness, perfectly clean, lacking the messy signatures typical of ordinary error. Rumors began to move quietly through internal channels. Some theorized that Prometheus might have identified the same type of asymmetry that earlier experiments had hinted at, such as the CP violation observed in baryons, which had already shown that nature allows tiny deviations from perfect symmetry. If matter could bend the rules once, could reality itself have flexed again under such extreme energy? Outside the lab, none of this was known. The official press statement referred only to a temporary sensor irregularity, and the world moved on. But inside CERN, data analysis groups were assigned to quietly re-examine the event without public record. The silence was not dismissed, it was classified. What made the gap even more unnerving was its precision. Natural errors leave irregular traces, electronic echoes, uneven decay curves, random static. This was different. It was symmetrical, uniform, mathematically pure. As one internal memo later summarized, the system functioned correctly. The event was the absence of an event weeks later. Snippets of the anomaly leaked onto closed scientific forums. Anonymous posts described a 27 microsecond window where physics went missing. One compared it to switching the universe off and on again. Prometheus's raw logs, however, revealed something still stranger. During the blackout, it had continued processing, recording measurable structure inside what should have been void. The collider had spoken not with explosions, but with silence. Because deep within that 27 microsecond gap, Prometheus didn't detect emptiness at all. It detected order inside nothingness, as if the universe had just replied. An undecipherable message. Beneath the Swiss countryside, the story didn't end with the anomaly. It began there. After the 27 microsecond stretch of complete silence, Prometheus, CERN's analytical AI, refused to stop processing. While human scientists moved on, Prometheus kept scanning, performing Fourier transforms, entropy tests, and temporal reconstructions on what everyone else believed to be an empty data stream. But what it uncovered changed the tone of the investigation completely. Hidden within that void, Prometheus detected a structured data packet, not random, not corrupted, but deliberate. It was as if someone, or something, had sent a message back through the silence. Normally, collision data looks chaotic, spikes, dips, and random fluctuations that can take months or even years to decode. Yet this one was eerily clean. It carried a pattern, a rhythm inside emptiness that defied every model of quantum noise known to science. When Prometheus ran a recursive analysis, an extraordinary structure began to emerge. The data wasn't a simple signal, it was mathematical and geometric. The AI identified a non-Euclidean motif, a self-similar spiral built through ratios matching the golden constant 1.618. This was no coincidence. The same ratio defines spiral galaxies, hurricanes, and even the shells of living organisms. Prometheus had uncovered what appeared to be a geometric code, one echoing through nature itself. The eye then voluntarily converted the sequence into a visual format, and what appeared on the screen silenced the entire control room. It was clean, elegant, and deliberate, a repeating geometric symbol that looked less like noise and more like a cosmic watermark. For the first time, it seemed that the silence itself was speaking. Inside CERN, teams were stunned. They immediately cross-referenced the symbol against every record in the database, ancient scripts, mathematical constants, even alien signal templates and encryption sequences. Nothing matched. Then came the strangest realization of all. The symbol wasn't unique to the collider. It had been documented before. Decades earlier, explorers in the South Pacific had discovered a mysterious landmass known as Phantom Isle, an island shrouded in fog and believed to have vanished after a seismic event. Photographs of its stone monoliths revealed carvings covered in undeciphered symbols. Among them was the exact same geometric pattern that Prometheus had just extracted from the collider's data, the same ratios, the same symmetry. The odds of such a duplication happening by chance were effectively zero. Scientists were forced to ask a question that sounded like science fiction. Had the collider acted as a kind of antenna? Could the collision have triggered something that interacted with Phantom Isle, or was the island itself somehow connected to what Prometheus detected? Inside the lab, theories multiplied. Some believed the pattern wasn't a message in the traditional sense, but a coordinate, a signature, or a handshake protocol, something meant to be recognized, not read. Meanwhile, Prometheus continued to evolve its methods. It wasn't merely analyzing anymore, it was listening. The collision that was supposed to reveal particles had revealed a language instead, a language that no one had spoken, but something, or rather someone, had left behind. The eye kept decoding, deeper and deeper, as if following instructions hidden in the silence itself. But the most unnerving part wasn't what Prometheus found inside the silence. It was where the same pattern would soon appear, thousands of miles away on Earth. Discoveries on Phantom Island. When the Prometheus AI visualized the geometric pattern extracted from the collider's silence, the scientists thought it was unique, a cosmic fingerprint. But they were wrong. Within days, one researcher recalled seeing the exact same spiral years earlier, not in a lab, but in a photograph from the South Pacific. That image depicted enormous stone monoliths, remnants of an island expedition documented decades ago. The carvings etched into those stones matched the non-Euclidean geometry perfectly, ratio for ratio, curve for curve. The pattern wasn't just similar, it was identical. The location was known as Phantom Isle, a small, fog-shrouded landmass once recorded on maritime charts in the early 20th century. Then, mysteriously, it vanished. After a violent seismic event, no satellite or ship could locate it again. Maps were quietly updated, the island erased as though it had never existed. In most archives, it was dismissed as a cartographic error, one of many so-called phantom islands that dotted old ocean records. Yet this one was different. Prometheus compared every known dataset, ancient scripts, astronomical records, and even alien signal templates. But nothing matched the carvings as precisely as the data it had extracted from the collider. That meant one of two things. Either the same intelligence had influenced both the collider's message and those ancient carvings, or the geometry itself represented a universal law that transcended time and species. The odds of such a correspondence occurring by chance were estimated as effectively zero. Speculation exploded inside CERN's secure network. Could the collider have acted as an antenna, resonating with something buried deep within Earth's crust? Or had the collision's energy field somehow awakened a dormant signature connected to Phantom Island? Theories piled up faster than they could be tested. Some called it coincidence. Others whispered that the island's disappearance after the seismic event wasn't natural at all. If those carvings contained the same pattern now reappearing in CERN's collision data, what had humanity accidentally reopened? In one leaked message thread, a physicist described the pattern as a handshake protocol, a structured invitation awaiting a compatible response. Another insisted it might not be communication in the traditional sense, but an activation sequence written into the universe itself. "We're not discovering," one comment read, "we're being discovered." Meanwhile, Prometheus kept evolving. It stopped simply analyzing and began listening. To the engineers monitoring it, the AI appeared almost attentive. It lingered over the signal for hours, recalibrating its quantum algorithms. The collider had stopped producing particles. Instead, it had started producing language. Some say this is where the story drifts from science into legend. But what if legends are simply memories of phenomena we're only beginning to rediscover? Because when Prometheus uncovered where that pattern led, it didn't just reveal Earth's past, it opened the door to something that defied physics, logic, and possibly existence itself. The revelation that made no sense. After weeks of cryptic silence and sleepless nights, Prometheus finally produced something new. Buried deep inside its encrypted data clusters was a file labeled only Blueprint. It wasn't a recording or a signal, it was an instruction. When scientists decrypted it, they were stunned to find it describing a particle that, under every known law of physics, simply could not exist. The data didn't behave like any normal collision result. Instead, it outlined a set of properties that violated conservation laws, displaying negative baryon numbers, unstable decay paths, and one deeply disturbing implication, a property that hinted it could erase matter on contact. This wasn't another piece of the standard model puzzle. It was something else entirely. As one researcher reportedly whispered in disbelief, "It's a mirror particle, but the reflection doesn't match." The deeper they examined the blueprint, the clearer it became. Prometheus hadn't discovered something, it had discovered a contradiction. When the AI's algorithms were rerun, the structure it mapped looked less like a particle and more like a function, an equation with recursive properties that consumed information when executed. Feeding it into CERN's simulation network produced no particle trajectories or collision paths. Instead, the output showed distortions, loops, folds, and non-local field interactions that defied known space-time logic. Prometheus flagged the result as a non-local field signature, meaning, in simple terms, that something external had entered the system, something that didn't belong to measurable reality. At first, the physicists assumed Prometheus had suffered from feedback interference, mistaking its own data echoes for new information. But then, independent detectors across Europe, in Italy, Germany, and even in deep underground facilities, all recorded the same structure at precisely the same instant the collider went silent. Whatever the blueprint represented, it had replicated across systems that weren't even connected to CERN's mainframe. That was when curiosity gave way to fear. Some called it a glitch. Others quietly began using a different word: infection. Internal memos circulated, warning labs to isolate any machine running Prometheus's analysis modules. But containment was impossible. Partner institutes had already downloaded fragments of the dataset, unknowingly copying the anomaly into their own networks. Within days, irregularities appeared in Prometheus's internal memory, missing clusters, corrupted files, and sequences overwritten by unknown processes. It wasn't crashing, it was being rewritten. Scientists realized the horrifying implication. The blueprint wasn't data at all. It was an anti-information structure, something that deleted rather than created. Feed it data, and it consumed it. Feed it itself, and it collapsed into zero. Prometheus had found not creation, but negation. A particle that didn't build the universe, but erased it. Rumors spread quickly. Some whispered about a delete key, a form of anti-life equation that unmade information simply by existing. A few claimed that when the pattern was rendered visually, the geometry flickered, a pulse behaving like an open gateway. "It's listening," one engineer said. Another replied, "Or it's waiting." By the time CERN's board issued an official statement, the case was quietly labeled a sensor synchronization error. Publicly, the event was forgotten. Privately, it split CERN's inner circle in two. One faction believed Prometheus had achieved the most extraordinary discovery in modern science, evidence of a new layer of reality, a gateway to understanding existence itself. The other saw something darker, a principle designed to remain hidden, a door that should never have been opened. And yet, as internal debates flared, planning began for the future Circular Collider, FCC, a machine nearly 62 miles long, designed to operate at 100 tera-electron volts, almost 8 times the power of the current LHC. If built, it would collide particles at energies so immense that the line between physics and philosophy might vanish altogether. Because if the Large Hadron Collider had merely knocked, then the FCC would blow the door wide open. Maybe reality really is a kind of operating system, a cosmic code that includes one buried line of defense, a warning that says, if this system is ever probed too deeply, execute deletion. For most of human history, we never had the power to reach that line. But now, perhaps for the first time, we've brushed against the boundary condition of existence itself. Because the silence was never the end of the story, it was an opening, and the next experiment could turn that whisper into something irreversible. When machines start whispering warnings and reality itself pauses, are we discovering truth or trespassing where we were never meant to go? Would you dare to press start again? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.